What you're going to need is googliness.
Okay, so you've got yourself a brand new Google Pixel. Let me ask you a question. Are you the type of person who rushes through the setup process and just hopes the phone will be fully optimized and that all of the security settings will be perfect straight out of the box? Well, if so, you like to live dangerously. And up until recently,
I also like to live dangerously.
But the good news is you're here now and you're about to learn how to fully optimize your new Pixel by unlocking a bunch of tools and hidden features. And I'm going to show you how to secure your new device so you don't end up like this.
This is fine.
Now, you probably think your phone looks amazing already, and it does, but you can actually make it look better. Within the settings menu on your phone, if you go to display and touch, I do recommend you have adaptive brightness on. It's just off for filming this video, so it's not constantly changing. But if you scroll down, second from the last setting on this screen is probably the most important one. The screen resolution is set to high by default, so that's basically full HD+, but you can scale it up even more. By default, it's set to high, which is good enough to be honest, but it can be set to maximum resolution. It will use a little bit more power, but where possible, your screens will be more pixel dense and look significantly better if you set this to maximum. So now all of your beautiful wallpapers and things like that will look a little bit sharper. Now there is a brand new feature on this phone which is already switched on day one, so you don't need to switch it on, but it's important you keep an eye out for it so you know when you can use it. And the feature that I'm referring to is this. Within the settings menu, if you scroll down, there's actually a dedicated section for it. It's called the Magic Q. So if you click on this, if you read through this, you'll figure out more or less what it does. Essentially, it's a more improved version of the suggested text. It's been enhanced quite a lot because now it can grab more information from other apps, not just your messaging apps, and provide you with contextual answers that sound more like you. And if you want to see where it's grabbing the data for these responses, you can go to use data from specific apps. Right now, it's these three main ones, but also these as well, your calendar, keep, and your contacts. This is quite a hard one to demo because you do need to use the phone quite a bit before it learns all of the patterns and it gathers the information that would work contextually with your conversations and your phone calls. But just to give you an idea, if you are on a phone call and that phone call does relate to something that you've discussed before, for example, a flight in this case, whilst you're on the phone call, it can bring up all of that flight information right there on the display. So you have quick access to it without having to search around through your emails. That is kind of awesome. So long story short, just make sure you've got Magic Cues set up right here and make sure that it is in fact switched on. And I recommend switching all of these on for the best results. Here is another nice feature on this phone within the settings menu. If you scroll down to system, and on this page, if you go to gestures, which is right here, so there's some nice gestures that you can customize here, but there's one specifically that I think is probably the best, and it's the one at the top, the quick tap to start actions. So this is actually a tap on the back of the device. And before you set this up, there is one thing that I recommend. Set it to require stronger taps. That way it's much less likely to go off accidentally. And you could choose from any of these if you want, but what I like to do is set it up as a custom app. For example, you could set it up as the Google Wallet, and you can even choose which card it jumps straight into. So now that this is set up, if I double tap here quite firmly on the G on the back of the phone, it opens the Google Wallet. But you might prefer to use that for the torch or the calculator or something like that. So have a look through the options and set it up in a way that works best for you. Okay, back into the settings, back into system, and back to gestures one more time. There is another feature here that you might want to customize, and I think you'll want to do this if you're coming over from the iPhone, and that is the double push of the power button. On Android phones, the double push here jumps into the camera, which is kind of nice because you can snap a photo real quick without having to swipe around or anything like that. And you can even do it without unlocking the phone. But the point I'm trying to make is if you are coming from iPhone, the double push of the power key does open the Apple Wallet. So if you wanted to, you could change that to the wallet, and actually it's the only other option you could choose from here. Once you set that up, if you have a shortcut on the home screen, which I did set up in a previous video, you can actually go into that setting straight away and change it to something else, since you won't need that wallet there anymore. Okay, here's a trick that's designed to help you improve your photography skills. If you jump into the camera, go to the three lines bottom right corner, go to the settings on the bottom left corner. Do make sure you're in photo mode and not video mode when you do this. Hit the three dots in the top right corner. This brings you into the settings for the camera. And if you scroll down, you will find the frequent faces settings. Switch this on. Now what this does is it allows the phone to recognize familiar faces, and gradually it will improve the accuracy of their skin tones. And the great thing about this feature is the data is actually handled all on device, so you don't have to worry about your photos being sent off anywhere or anything like that. I think this is really designed for people with darker skin, but I see no downside for everybody switching this on. So if you want better skin tones, then yeah, you should probably switch this on. Another camera setting worth turning on day one that will help you compose better photos. If you jump into the camera app, again, go into the settings icon, bottom left corner, 3 dots, top right corner. Here, switch on the grid type. I really like the 3x3 grid, but you might prefer the golden ratio. I do believe the 3x3 and the golden ratio are the best ones to use. So play around with them, see how you get along with them. But one thing's for sure, if you do have these active, you will be able to level up your photography. Another important camera setting that you should be aware of is this. So by default, the photos you take with your Pixel will be 12 megapixels, which is fine. But this phone does have a 50 megapixel sensor. So if you're in a good lighting condition, you could use the maximum amount of megapixels to grab even more detail. And you'd probably want to use this if you're planning to print out a photo. So here's how you can use the maximum megapixels. See the little 12 megapixel icon in the top left corner, just tap on that. This will jump straight into the Pro settings where you can switch the 12 megapixels to 50 megapixels. Here you can also change the format of the photo to RAW. So if you do want to get the largest file size from the phone so that you can edit it on Photoshop, for example, then definitely use the RAW. I wouldn't recommend that for everyday use. You wouldn't want to be posting RAW images to Instagram or anything. You'd only want to use that when you're doing post editing. Also, the lens selection is set to auto, so it will auto switch between the macro and the regular wide lens. If you want manual control, you can switch that here as well. All right, here is another camera tip for you guys. And this one will allow you to use the camera more effortlessly, more quickly. So within the camera app, again, go to the settings, bottom left corner, go to the 3 dots, top right corner. You'll find the fast access submenu, and you can enable quick access controls right here. So with this enabled, now when you're taking a photo, you have the warmth and coolness slider here. So if you want to change the tone a little bit, you've also got these two as well to adjust the contrast and the brightness as well. So these can kind of help you add a filter effect without actually having to put a filter on afterwards. And if you do want to reset any adjustments that you made, you'll see the little arrows pop up at the top, which kind of set them back to the original position. Anyway, moving on. Okay, here is a really cool feature for your phone app. So open the phone app, hit the 3 lines, top left corner, go to your settings, and go to the voice translate feature. Enable this, and then download the audio packs that will be relevant to the people who you might be speaking to. So if you're going on a holiday to France or something, you might want to download the France pack. Now, the great thing about this is when you make a phone call, what you can do is use the call assist feature and then go to voice translate. And then you could choose the language that you want to translate. And then essentially you can have a conversation with the person in their language. You do have to pause in between each bit so that they can hear what you're saying, and then they can say it in their language. Then you'll hear the translated version of what they said, vice versa. This could be super, super handy if you are going to be abroad. Okay, so the Pixel 10 Pro XL is a big phone. I mean, it is called XL, and reaching the top can be a little bit tricky, but not if you do this. Go to your settings, go to System, and then scroll down to gestures. And right here, you'll find the one-handed mode, which is switched off. You can actually customize what the one-handed mode does. So if you want it to bring down your notification shade, instead of bringing down the top half of the screen, you can switch that here. You can also have a one-handed mode shortcut, which adds this little accessibility widget to the side of the screen. So you can just tap that instead of having to do the gesture. The gesture is a little swipe down between that line there and the bottom of the screen, like that. And then if you tap the empty space, it goes back. The notification one's kind of cool though. I might actually set it up as the notifications. So this might not be a feature that you need to use that often, but there will come a time where you might need to reach the top of the device with one hand, and now you can just do this. Okay, so this could be a cool feature for you if you ever use your phone whilst lying down. Just for example, if you go into your settings, go to display and touch, you should see auto rotate at the bottom. If you tap here you'll find a very useful hidden setting. So what this does is it gives the front camera permission to check the orientation of your head. So if you're lying down sideways on the bed and you're looking at your phone will know to stay in the portrait mode as opposed to flipping to landscape mode, which could be annoying. So this just means the phone screen's orientation will line up with how your eyes are looking at the screen, and it's definitely a convenient feature. Okay, so this is just a real basic tip, but actually for some people you might not be that familiar with it yet. So wherever you are on any screen on the phone, see the little line at the bottom here, or if you're using the button navigation, you'll have the circle button in the middle here. You can use that to activate circle to search. So if you hold your finger down on it, the whole screen lights up and you can circle around anything that you're looking at. That will then perform a Google image search if it is an image, and you can also save it to your screenshots app from here. The screenshots app is something that's incredibly useful on this phone. So it is a dedicated app, and this is the only phone with this feature, so it is kind of exclusive. Here you can create a collection of things, and the great thing about grabbing screenshots on this phone is when you go back to them, you can actually see where that screenshot came from, and you can even navigate back exactly to that place. You can add voice notes to it, and you can also add it to collections. So if you are researching a specific topic, you can actually keep everything in nice folders. You can also record voice notes here. And if you have screenshotted something that has an address and a date and everything like that on it, the phone will detect that and allow you to add it to your calendar. And again, this will all link into that Magic Queue stuff, which we spoke about earlier. Honestly, this is such a brilliant addition to the Pixel phones. I do wish more phones had this. Again, here's another real basic tip that probably quite a few people know, but there will be some of you guys watching this video who might be new to the Pixel that don't know about this. But swipe typing is enabled on this phone by default, which means you can hold your finger down on the letter and slide to the next letter and so on to type out a full word. For example, I just wrote that in 5 moves as opposed to tapping however many characters that is. And also you'll notice the little magic wand has popped up at the edge here. This is a quick shortcut to the writing tools, which I did explain in a previous video. This can proofread or even rewrite or even improve, elaborate, or even shorten your writing for you using AI. Another little keyboard trick that you need to be aware of is you can hold your finger down on the space bar to quickly move back and forth between text as well. That's super handy when you're writing out an email address or something like that and you get one character wrong. You can literally hold your finger down on the space bar and slide back to where you need to make the correction and then just fix it. All right, here is another keyboard tip. So make sure you got your keyboard open on whatever app you're using. Hit the 3 dots on the top right corner here. Hit the 4 dots on the left side. Here you can jump into the keyboard settings. And right here, you'll see the voice typing. So this is where the phone can turn your voice into text, which is super, super handy. And if you want to make it even faster, you can hit this little switch here, which does exactly what it says it does. And this will download a bunch of information so that this feature can actually work even when offline. So if you are on a plane and you want to record a voice note and have it transcribed via the Gboard, you can do that. Just so you know how to use it, on the edge of the keyboard, you'll see this little microphone. Have you done it yet? And you'll notice the little Google colors appear around the microphone whilst it's in use. All right, let's do another keyboard trick. Again, if we go into the 4 dots here on the left side, go into the settings here, scroll down to emoji, stickers, and GIFs. If you're the type of person who uses a lot of emojis, then switch on the emoji fast access row. So this means popular emojis will appear at the top of your keyboard more frequently. So I don't know if you guys caught part 1 of this 3-part series, but I spoke a bit about the now playing feature. That's a feature that will show you what music's playing around you at the top of the screen here when your phone hears music. Well, here's how you can optimize that. So if you go into your settings, lock screen, now playing, and then here, make sure the now playing's on if it isn't. At the bottom of this list, you'll see the default music player, and right now it's set to none. My default music player is actually Deezer or Tidal. Tidal isn't in this list, so I can't choose it. Now, when I use now playing and I find a song that I like and I tap on that song, it will open up in Deezer first. It just makes things a little more seamless when it comes to finding songs that you like. Okay, here is a really nice hidden tool on this phone, and this will work for you if you have a smart TV. Check this out. Go into your quick settings, expand the quick settings, hit the pen right here. These are the ones you have set up right now. You can drag these around into whatever order you want. The ones down here are unassigned right now, and there is one tool that is super useful, and it's this one right here, the remote. So add that. Now while we're here, it is worth knowing you can actually customize the tiles by actually shrinking them down or having them larger depending on how important they are to you. For example, I don't go on an aeroplane every day, so I could actually hold my finger down on that one and then shrink the size of that to just a single button. The torch is something that I use but not that often. Again, that could be smaller. The wallet I've already got set up in a couple of different ways, so I don't necessarily need that. The QR scanner is definitely handy. But anyway, what I wanted to show you was the remote control feature, which is this one here. So this will scan your Wi-Fi networks to see if there are any smart TVs hooked up to the same network. If there are smart TVs, it will find them, and then you can control them via your phone. This works purely on Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. All right, let's get into those all-important security settings now. And I promise I'll try and keep these as brief as possible. So there is a really useful hidden tool on this phone. To access it, go into your settings, go to network and internet, and here go to VPN. Right now it says none. But why have none when you have free access to Google's own VPN service? So right here you can increase your online privacy with this free VPN that comes with the Google Pixel phone. So you can allow the control. So you can choose to use it for your mobile network as well as Wi-Fi if you want. If you scroll down all the way to the bottom and agree, you can now use the Google VPN. Now, if you're not familiar with what a VPN is, it's a virtual private network that essentially can hide your IP address so that the people on that network who might be hacking, it's going to protect you from them, and also it's going to protect your identity whilst online. So right now it's active, and we can pause the VPN at any time and resume the VPN at any time, and we'll get these nice little notifications up top as well when it is running. And this brings me very nicely on to the next tip that's going to make using the VPN even easier. So if you bring down your quick settings, bring them down again, hit the pen just like we did earlier, and then scroll all the way down until you find the VPN quick setting, which is here somewhere. It's right here. Just hit the little plus on that, and that adds it to your tiles. What I'm going to do is bring this right to the top, right under the internet. So now whenever I'm on a public hotspot, I can just bring down the tiles or the quick settings and hit this little key icon right here. And now my device is protected from hackers on that network. However, if you do want to spoof your location like you're in another country, you would need a third-party VPN. I personally use NordVPN, which is pretty good. Okay, this is a very important setting to switch on day one. Go into your settings, security and privacy. Here, go to device unlock. And at the bottom of this page, you'll see theft protection. I recommend you switch both of these on. So if someone does snatch your phone off you, it will detect that it's been snatched out of your hand, and it will lock automatically. With the offline device lock, you can remotely lock your phone if you've left it somewhere and you think someone might be trying to get into it. Just so you know how to do that, if you hit the little arrow right here, it gives you a little explainer of how that works. You've also got remote lock here, so you can dial in remotely to this address and actually lock your phone remotely if you think someone has managed to bypass the security and things like that. And the last option right here is to allow it to be remotely erased. This should be on already, and you can do this via the Find Hub, which is Google's own service. Okay, so if you're going to hand someone your phone one day to look at some photos or something like that, you probably don't want them scrolling through all your messages and things. And here's a useful way to stop them from doing that. Within your settings, back into security and privacy, scroll to the bottom and you'll see more security and privacy. Go to that, scroll down again, and you should see hidden right at the bottom of this list, the app pinning feature. Switch this on. So now let's say you want to show someone your holiday photos, and that's it. What you can do is open up backgrounding, use the little drop down at the top left corner of that window, and you'll see the option to pin. That's now pinned this one particular app, which can be scrolled through, but this app is now locked on screen and cannot be exited without your permission. All right, so I mentioned the Find Hub earlier on today. There is a setting for the Find Hub, which I do recommend you switch on. If you care about your device and you don't want to lose it and you do want to be able to track it down if it does go missing, you might want to do this. Go back to your settings, security and privacy, device finders, and here you'll find the Find Hub. Go to this. Make sure this is switched on first of all, and make sure you set up the Find Hub app. Once you've done that, go to Find Offline Devices. And here you can set this to with all networks in all areas. By default, it'll just be set to high traffic areas, which is fine if you live in a busy city. But if you're on the outskirts and maybe it's not so busy, you might want to change this to with networks in all areas. This way you just kind of increase the chances of actually finding it if it does go missing. Okay, we're on the final straight here. Here's some bonus security tips for you guys. Back into the settings, back into network and internet. This time we're going to mobile network security. This kind of goes hand in hand with the VPN trick that I showed you earlier on in the video. If you switch this on, whenever you connect to an unsecured network that could be full of hackers, the phone, your Pixel will let you know that you've done that, and then you can go into your quick settings and activate the free VPN. Something else to be aware of is that the 2G networks are kind of old school now, and they're not as secure as 3G, 4G, 5G. So if you're security conscious, you might want to switch this on so your phone avoids those 2G very slow networks that are not that secure. Okay, this is the ultimate privacy tool. So if you go to your settings, security and privacy again, here you'll find the private space. Setting this up allows you to create a secondary space on your phone where you can launch apps from, independent from the main space. You can keep files there, independent from the main space, and you can have a separate unlock for the private space. To set this up, just hit setup here, and this will create the private space. Now you might want to use this for your work, for example. So now that that's set up, you might be wondering, where the hell is the private space? Well, here it is. If you swipe up, go to your app drawer, scroll all the way to the bottom, see this little padlock down here? Tap on that, put your biometrics in, and now your private space has unlocked. These apps down here work completely independently from all of the other apps. If you open the camera here, those photos will stay within the private space. Everything that you do here stays here. And then when you don't need to use it anymore, you can just lock it down just like that. And it's out of the way. All right, here is the final tip, and this is a really cool one for anyone who's got kids or sometimes lends the phone to other people to use. Go into your settings, go to system, scroll down to users, and here is where you can add a new user for your phone. So if you do let someone else use your phone, create a new user, that creates a new space on the device. They will have permissions to use the storage on the device, but they won't be able to access your own private stuff. So this is a good way to keep that all safe. At the bottom of this page, you can choose whether you want to allow them to be able to make phone calls with your phone bill, and the little tick box at the end could be handy if you want to switch users on the lock screen. Okay, so there we go. That was more than 20 optimization and security tips. If you missed part 1, which is all the brand new features and fun things to try on day 1, that's on screen right now. If you missed part 2, which was the customization guide, that's also on screen right now. Appreciate you guys for watching this one. Got any value out of it, let me know in the comments. If you just subscribed, you're now one of the finest subscribers known to man. And if you just done that, I will see you in the next one. Don't be late.